Hello friends, it is time to start another weekly vlog. And for this week, I have a question. Should I have judged these books by their covers? Until recently, Canada never really had sprayed edges and pretty books in our bookstores. And if we wanted to order in special editions, they cost so much money. And shipping in Canada is really, really expensive. So I did not have pretty books on my shelves. I would always be so jealous of Shop With Me's in the UK where they had sprayed edges everywhere. And I said, if they came to Canada, if they would give me the pretty books, I would buy them. And then they did, and I definitely have. This year, I have littered my shelves with sprayed edges books. And honestly, it has been hit or miss whether I have loved the sprayed edges books or not. There have been some good books that I have enjoyed. There have been some books that I have not as much. So I've definitely fallen into buying books because they are pretty. And I have quite a few sprayed edges books on my shelves that I have yet to read. And I bought them all this year. I have been hauling a lot of books this year that are pretty, and I am going to read some of them in this vlog. And we are going to decide if the book is just pretty on the outside or if it's pretty on the inside, and see if I should have judged these books by their covers. So with that, I have put all these sprayed edges books that I have not read that I currently own on pieces of paper in this jar. We are going to pull, I think, 3 through the course of this video. We'll see how long it takes me to read them and see if I like them or not. So let's pull our first one and see what we get. I have really a couple of ones that I would really like to read, but you know what? I'm open to whatever comes out of the jar, to be honest. All these books I have hauled fairly recently. That's 2, so let's shake one off. All of them I've hauled really recently, and I'm excited to read all of them, and I really hope there's some winners in this jar. Let's see what it is. Let's see. Let's hope for the best. Okay, I can already see what it is. It's The Stars Are Dying, which I very, very recently bought, and then I heard not the best things from a couple of my friends. So I'm a little bit nervous about this one, but it is a new release, so, maybe I'll like it. We'll see. We'll find out. The book is beautiful. Let me grab it. This book is absolutely gorgeous. Not only is the dust jacket beautiful, and not only are the sprayed edges beautiful, but under the dust jacket is also absolutely beautiful. It's a printed hardback, friends. Printed hardback. Printed hardback. I could not leave this at the store. I couldn't do it. It had to come home with me. I needed to have it. And here's the thing, friends. I will not be unhauling these books most likely, even if I don't love them, because I spend the money on them and they'll look really pretty on my shelves regardless. I mean, if I really, really, really hate a book, I may unhaul it. I did unhaul the Sanctuary of the Shadow earlier this year. That was a sprayed edges book that I did not enjoy, and I did end up unhauling it, but most likely, regardless of what I think of these books, they're probably going to become shelf trophies. Even if it's a trophy of I survived the book, that will be what it is. So I am going to hunt down the audiobook for this because I do want the audiobook, and we will continue from there. So I have officially made it to 130 pages into The Stars Are Dying. I did not hear the best reviews of the people that I knew who had read this, but I'm really liking it. It's probably funny that I'm liking the romantasy that most romantasy people are not liking. Maybe there's a correlation in that. I don't know, but I am really liking this book and enjoying my time with it. I will say the pacing of the first third of this book, because I'm basically about a third of the way through, is quite slow. It's quite meandering in its pace, which maybe is part of the reason some people don't like it. I don't mind a slow paced book. I don't mind when we're focused on characters. So for me, that's working. That's working for me. In this, we follow Estrella, and Estrella has lost her memory. She only remembers the last 5 years of her life, in which she has basically been indebted to this man, Hector. And Hector has told her, I think, a lot of lies. I don't really know what's true and what's not. But Hector is not the best guy. Hector is actually a horrible person, basically keeping her imprisoned. She does escape at times and like go into the village and see people, but he can't know about that. During her times in the city, she's actually gotten to know basically the princess of her land, Cassia, and they become best friends. Cassia is about to go to these trials called the Libertatum, and basically the Libertatum is a set of trials. 5 people compete in them, 1 from each realm. And when they compete to basically keep their borders safe from vampires. There are 3 different kinds of vampires in this land. All of them obviously will kill you. They're vampires. So she is kind of working to compete to keep the vampires out of their land. Basically, right before the Libertatum, each land opens their borders and you get to pick as a person which country or basically land you want to live in based on who you think will win the Libertatum. They go to this trial with the king, and the king puts on these trials, and whoever wins, again, protects their land from the vampires. Very kind of Hunger Game-esque in a way, but instead of getting food, you protect yourself from being eaten alive by vampires. Her best friend is going, and she decides to break free from this man, Hector, and go with her best friend. And along the course of that journey, which is most of the first third of this book, it is somewhat of a journey book before you get to the trials, we see her having to take Cassia's place in the trials. For that reason, I'm not going to go into what that reason is. You can follow along and find out. But that is one of the reasons she has to go, and now she is going to be in the Libertatum. We do meet a few other characters, and I don't know if one is our like romance or if there is a potential for like a love triangle at this moment in time. There is Knight, who I think is who is on the cover, so like I think he's probably our love interest, but like I'm not 100% sure at this moment in time. There's 2 possibilities too. Knight is, I think, a vampire. I think it's a little unknown to me at this moment in time what Knight is, but I think he's a vampire. And I think he somehow has a connection with Estrella that we don't necessarily know yet. And I don't know if it comes from those missing parts of her history that she doesn't even know. He can like speak to her in her mind. Like they have like a mind meld situation, and he can just like appear out of nowhere, be there for a minute, disappear. Don't really know his full story. He just kind of like pops in and out, pops in and out, pops in and out. Then we also have Zath, who is like a guard from Hector's castle or organization, whatever the heck he had, that became like attached to Estrella and is going with her to the Libertatum. So we kind of have like the dark side with like Knight and his vampire-ness. And then we have kind of like the knight in shining armor with Zath. And I kind of love both of them. So like I wouldn't mind a love triangle. I also wouldn't mind like a why choose. I don't think that's where we're going. I think we're going to go with Knight in the long run, but I'm not sure. And I would be good with either. It'll be interesting to see as we go along if I kind of see Zath kind of take a step away, because I do think Knight is our main love interest just based off the cover and like the synopsis. But like I'm also okay with a love triangle because I like both of them for very different reasons for their juxtaposition of each other. Anyway, it's very early days. I'm only 130 pages in. And like I said, the pacing of that is quite slow. So we're just getting to the location of the trials now. Most of the first part of this book was just journeying, setting up characters, setting up this world, all that stuff. I really like the prose in this book. I really like the writing style of this book, and I'm excited to continue this afternoon on Thursday sprints. So I am now 250 pages into The Stars Are Dying, and this book has slightly taken a turn since I last talked with you. I liked the first 130 pages. You saw me talking about it, but that was a journey. I do love a good journey in a fantasy book. I love like us trying to get somewhere, the camaraderie that happens on a journey. I really enjoy that. Once we got to our end point and the trials, which is where I am now, it really started to lose my interest kind of quickly. These trials are not explained super well, like what they're trying to do. Yes, there are, like, I understand what's happening, but I don't think it's fleshed out super well. I also just don't really care about the trials because they are so slow paced and kind of like work at your own pace for each competitor that it's not very engaging to read. It's just kind of boring. And the relationships that I was excited about at the beginning of the book have mostly dropped off. One of our characters has just gone off to like work with somebody else. We see them occasionally, but not very often. The other characters, I am somewhat interested in their relationship, but like not as much as I think I need to be to really care about this romance at this point. So I'm a little bit torn because I liked the first half of this book, or the first third. The second third was a little bit difficult to get through, and I'm a little bit just, bored. Bored is the word, unfortunately. I hate to say it, but disinterested. So I'm interested to see how we go from here. If it turns back around in the end, if it can capture my interest. I found my mind wandering quite a bit during the trial part. Like, I would be reading paragraphs with my eyes because I went to immersion reading because my mind was wandering so much. And I would still like start thinking about other things that weren't the book, and it was just losing my interest. So we'll see how the ending of this goes, and we'll see what I think of it overall when we're done. I only have about 100 pages left, and then there are 2 bonus stories at the end of the book. I'm not sure if I'm going to read the bonus stories. I'll call that when I get there. We'll see. I'm not 100% committed to reading the bonus stories, but I will at least finish the 100 pages in the actual book. Officially finished The Stars Are Dying. I did not read the bonus stories at the end. I could not be fussed. I do not think I will continue with this series, so there was just no reason. The ending of this had some good things that happened. There were some things that I really was interested in based around the different types of creatures in this book. We have vampires, we have celestials, we have mortals, and that was all quite interesting. I will say it was somewhat predictable, but it was interesting. However, The romance really went downhill even more for me in the second half of this book. Once they get together, there is a lot of, I trust him, I don't trust him. I trust him, I don't trust him. I love him, maybe I don't know. All this back and forth constantly. Like every page it's different. In the same chapter, we go from trusting him to not trusting him to trusting him to not trusting him like 4 or 5 times. And it became very irritating to read, that like back and forth. Like I just wanted her to choose what she was going to do and who she was going to align with. I just wanted her to make a choice, and she seemed to be unable to do so. And I think the author was trying to make that banter, but it just came across as her being too undecided and really just being all over the place. Like she was just so all over the place. And I do understand that like she was discovering a lot of things and trying to process a lot of things, but like it was too much. It was too much back and forth, too quickly, too rapidly, bouncing constantly. So with everything about this book, I've decided to give it a 3-star rating. So it's very middle of the road, but it's definitely on the lower end of the 3 stars for me. It was on the lower end, but there was nothing really glaringly necessarily wrong with it. Could have been edited. I think the premise was really good, but overall, I think it missed the mark in a few things. So should I have judged this book by its cover? Maybe not, because the outside I think is so gorgeous and it's so pretty, but the inside was just mid for me, very, very mid. However, as I said at the start of this vlog, I doubt I will unhaul any of these books because they are absolutely gorgeous and I will still use them as shelf trophies. But I will say I don't think I will grab the sequel whenever it comes out. So with that, it is time to grab our little pot and pull for another book. I think I'm only going to get one more book done in this vlog. It depends on what comes out of here. But this one took me 3 days, and most of the books in here are fantasy that are about the same length. So will probably take me about 3 days. This is a weekly reading vlog, and I don't foresee me being able to read any of these books in one day. So it depends on how long this takes, but most likely this will be our final book for this vlog. Okay, I think that's only one piece of paper. I think. Seems like it. Okay, I'm both excited and also for sure this is the last book in this vlog because it is a long one. It's a chunky book and it's The Games Gods Play. I'm excited about this one. This one is a Goodreads Choice nominee that I was planning on reading because I'm going to be reading some of those. Also, this is a Red Tower book, which I have been very hit or miss with Red Tower, but I have heard great things about this one from people that have read it. So let me grab it. It's just over there, and then we'll chat a little bit more about it. So The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owen. She's chunky. She's gorgeous, but she's chunky. She's chunky and gorgeous. Red Tower can make a pretty book. I have only had one read from Red Tower that is above a 4-star. It was a 4-star. Everything else has been a 3.5 or less. My 4-star read was Heavenbreaker, which is my most recent Red Tower read. So I'm hoping that we continue in that vein with this book because I have heard good things about this one. Not only are the sprayed edges beautiful, but also these end pages are to die for, It does also have a tiny little bit of a printed hardback, but not as much as like the last book that was very, very printed. But overall, this is a very pretty book. It's pretty sprayed edges, pretty end pages. Is the inside just as pretty? We'll find out.
Thought the praying would make it better, but I swear to God I'm just as lost as ever. Thought the bottle would hold me over, it still hurt me just as bad when I got sober. Everyone around me's found a way to let it go, but I can't help but focus on the things I can't control. All the darkness in my mind, pain that I can't leave behind. I know there's a silver line that I can't see. All the cold and sleepless nights, running out of ways to fight. I know there's a morning light in my reach if I keep buying time. I stopped going out to bars, I quit smoking. Thought that giving that all up would keep me going. I got over people pleasing.
Have I found my favorite Red Tower book? Have I finally found one that I absolutely adore? I mean, I really liked Heavenbreaker too, but like this is another level. I'm a third of the way through this book, so I still have quite a bit to go. So obviously my thoughts can change, but right now I'm really vibing with it, which makes sense. I do love mythological books. I do love this idea of following the Crucible and different things that are going on in this book. I find the challenges really interesting and really neat, and I'm just really having a good time. In this book, we follow Lyra, and Lyra has a curse that means nobody can love her. She was cursed by Zeus as a baby because her mother's water broke in the temple, and he saw it as defiling the temple, and he cursed the baby. She is working as a thief in like a gang of thieves on the night of the picking of the mortals for the Crucible. The Crucible is basically a gladiator type situation where each of the gods picks one mortal to fight for them and try to win these trials. Each trial, which they call labors in the book, are made by a different god. So one of the gods does one of each, which really makes the trials really different and assorted because each trial is set to kind of be like something about the gods. So right now I've seen Poseidon's, I've seen somebody else's, I want to say it's Hermes. I've seen 2 so far. Anyway, the night of them picking their mortals, she actually runs into Hades while trying to like get into Olympus. She is trying to get her kind of curse taken away. And she's trying to find Zeus, which is a very bad idea. She runs into Hades, he stops her, and ends up picking her as his mortal for these games. And instantly, we can see that there is definitely some chemistry between Hades and our main character. Persephone has died by the time of the start of this book, so he is no longer with Persephone. And we're kind of seeing him getting over that. He's mourning her in some aspects. But I will say he's very mysterious. We don't really know that much about the god of the underworld, which is fair. He's the god of the underworld. He should be a little mysterious. Should be a little, you know, cloaked and daggered, if you should say. Like he's, you know. The one thing I don't love about this book, which is very audiobook specific, so I will say for physically reading this, you probably haven't noticed this, is the chapters are extremely short, which I normally love a short chapter, but each chapter has a title heading, and the audiobook will say the title heading before it goes into the chapter. And because we're having new chapters so often, it kind of does take you out of the story when you're like in the middle of something happening and then you stop to have this chapter heading. Because like one trial could be like 6-10 chapters. It's not like you have a trial in one chapter, like we're switching chapters a lot. Which I do love a short chapter for getting through a book quicker, but I don't love that they keep saying the chapter headings on the audiobook. Very audiobook specific thing. Obviously, I would never like rank it more lowly, but I do wish that wasn't the case. Today is Monday, which I do think I said this was a weekly reading vlog, and it is a 7-day vlog. It's just I started on a Wednesday. So it is now Monday, so we're doing like Wednesday to Wednesday this week, which is not typically how I do my weekly vlogs, but here it is. Today is a very busy day, but like bookish busy. I have sprints tonight for my patrons. I have videos to edit. I would love to read a lot more of this today because I would really like to finish this by Wednesday. Again, today's Monday, so I really only have like 2 more days to finish this book, which is doable, but we still have a lot of books. She's very chunky. I'm only, like I said, a third of the way through, which is page 170, and this is like over 500 pages. So we are going to really try and get a lot of this read today on top of editing. Luckily, I have Sprint, so both of those things can get done, and whatever else I decide needs to happen as the day goes on. But I really wanted to update you so I could dive right back into this because I'm enjoying this so much and having such a fabulous time and really enjoying how this book is like taking on a romantasy feel to Greek mythology. I'm interested to see if this still remains to be my favorite Red Tower book as we go through it, but so far it's definitely sitting at the top of that list. It's 64% through the games Gods Play, and I am still enjoying the overall story. The main character, Lyra, is getting on my last nerve. My last nerve. These trials are so interesting, and I love that they are so different and reminiscent of each god that is putting them on. And I really want the stakes to be higher, but our main characters, the reason they're not. Each person is supposed to compete for themselves to help their god win and to earn favor and to basically earn something from the gods if they win. And each labor, which is the trial, they earn a prize if they win. And sometimes everyone will survive and sometimes they won't. So the stakes should be super, super high. But she wants nothing to happen and she wants to do it like as a communal process. So she keeps trying to convince everybody to work together. And it almost feels like a middle grade trial story with a character trying to teach camaraderie or make a found family or something like that. It gives it a middle grade feel to me, why she's pushing for them to all work together when I want the stakes to be high. I want this to be a little bit brutal. And it's great that she's got all this honor that she wants to live by, but she's supposed to be from this thieving coven and she grew up around thieves and she should have some skills, and she seems really quick to assume that she can't do stuff. And I don't love that. I want her to be strong and powerful. And I mean, her love interest is the god of the underworld. Like, you need to be a badass. And she's not being the badass that I want her to be. And it's really annoying me. It's really annoying me because it's taking me away from what I think is really interesting trials that could have really great high stakes. And this could have a really good mix of world building because it has that. High stakes. It should have that. And a cool romance, because I am intrigued in the romance between her and Hades. It hasn't really happened yet, I will say. This is a big time slow burn. Nothing's really happened between them yet. It's hinted at. I can see the beginnings of it. I've kind of seen the beginnings for a while. And I think that's okay because she's mortal. There's a lot going on in this book with the trials. There's a lot happening. He is going through some stuff as well. And I think there's a lot of things that we don't know of why he's decided to enter the Crucible this year where he hasn't in the past. Overall, I really like them as a couple or a potential couple. I'm invested. And I just wish the stakes were a little bit higher because they feel like they should be. It's not so much that I need stakes to be high, but I feel like what it's supposed to be is supposed to be high, and our main character is not wanting to fight for herself and not wanting to push for herself. And I want her to push and I want her to fight and I want her to try. Even when it's a riddle one and not one that there's a fight to the death, she's very quick to be like, I don't think I can win this, so maybe I can team up with someone who can. She just doesn't try. And it's really driving me crazy because I think this book could be excellent if she would just try a little bit harder. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm wrong and the found family of it maybe is what we're going for, but I want the high stakes. That's what I want. And I'm missing it in this book. We just started our first sprint for Monday night sprints, so I'm going to read a little bit more tonight. I don't know if I'll finish it tonight, probably not, but I'll finish it up tomorrow and I will chat with you when I'm done this book to see kind of where we kind of shake out, because I feel like there's a lot of things about this that I'm really liking, but there's also that part of it that I just want her to, get going. I want her to use her weapons and do the things. And I feel like that part's missing in this book a little bit. I did finish The Games Gods Play, and I am very torn on my rating with this. I think I'm going to go with a 4 because there is a lot of things that I loved about this book. I love the Greek mythology. I love the trials. I did really like the romance. I wish there would have been more of it. I really enjoyed the ending. There's a really big cliffhanger, and it definitely made me go, yes, I will be picking up the sequel. So all those things were really good about this book. The only thing that detracted from this was our main character. It took her a long time for her to start really trying in these trials. And I spoke about this in my last update, and my thoughts didn't really change that much about her until the very end, when something happened to make her kick her butt into gear. But it took a long time to get there, and I don't even know if she's going to continue in that vein in this next book. I don't know. She just doesn't have the personality to be like, I am going to kick butt at all these trials. She needs some confidence. She needs some more confidence because she's great, but she lacks the confidence. And I hope that maybe we see her gain that in the second book. But honestly, other than that, that's really the only thing that I didn't love about this book. There was a lot of things that I did love, and it kind of makes me sad a little bit because I think it kind of gave it a YA middle grade vibe, even though it's very much an adult book. And I think that this book could have been great. This book is good. It's really good, but it could have been great had our main character been a little bit more, higher stakes, a little bit more into it. And I would have liked to have seen that. I read Lore by Alexander Bracken a few years back, and honestly, I don't remember that much about the book any longer, and I don't know if I would like it if I read it today, but that is the stakes that I wanted for this. That one, she goes in and she's like, fine, I'm going to win these trials. Great, I'm going to do it. And she does. She goes for it. And I wanted our main character to be like this one. So that, I think, was one of my main issues, was just our main character and her general way of looking at things going into these trials. But that's an overall small thing, and I'll see how it is in the next book. The next book is definitely going to be read, though, because that cliffhanger, I need to know what happens next in this book. I must know. So that just shows that this book did some good things and did some things right, that I want to pick it up so desperately. So for this one, I think you can definitely judge this book by this cover. I think it's a good book. It's beautiful on the outside and it's really quite good on the inside overall. So we're definitely winning with this one. So we had one that kind of was a disappointment and one that overall, if you look at it as a whole, I enjoyed. And I definitely will be continuing with this series. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this vlog. Let me know if you like this concept because I still have a lot of sprayed edges in this jar that I would like to do more vlogs with. Plus, I'm sure I will buy more. So if you enjoyed this concept, we can definitely do more of these should we have judged these books by these covers vlogs. So let me know if you'd like to see more of that down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.